Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of making your first Runescape script tutorial. And before we begin, between the first tutorial and now, I've made a couple changes to the script. One of them I made an annotation for in the first video, and that was about around right here in the script. I was actually a little bit wrong about the code right here. Case random 1 generates just one random case, and that random case would just be 0. So if I wanted two random cases, like I have here, 0 and 1, I would need to put case random 2. So change the 1 to a 2 in this line. And a couple of changes I'll be making, and one change I'll make in front of you is we forgot to use one of the procedures I copied and pasted right here. Let me turn the music down a little bit. Alright, so like I said, I always include this little function, check and click, which like I said, moves the mouse and checks the up text for you. And instead of that, let me make myself a little more clear. What this function does is it moves the mouse to the X and Y, checks to see if the proper up text is up, and then either based on if you make this right click parameter true or false, it will regular click, or it will right click and choose the option. So except that, as you can see, find object already checks for up text built in, so the way we're doing it is just fine. So I'm not actually going to be using this function, because in my scripts I don't use find object, so I actually need an up text checked and things like that. This is kind of a custom thing, so we'll get rid of that. But you guys can feel free to look over this and use it in your scripts if you find your objects a different way that isn't find object. Like if you just find your objects by color, then you'll need an upcheck text when moving your mouse. So we can get rid of this since I don't really use it. And one last change is I'll log in to explain it to you a little bit better. And let's say hello to my friend Flight here, because he's cool. Alright, let me just get rid of these wars and stuff. Get my axe out. And head back to the trees. Alright, we're here. So, before, I was just using, I think, find object something, I don't remember. So, there's Flight saying hi to you guys. Flight's cool. He has a few scripts released that are mostly pay-to-play scripts, but they're really well made and make a lot of profit. A lot of them are rune crafting scripts. He has some fishers and stuff out too, so check him out. He's a cool guy. I like him a lot. So whatever find object we had, I changed it to find object TPA, and in my later tutorials I'll teach you what a TPA is. That stands for T-point array, but this does a lot of the work for you behind the scenes. but the parameters for this are X and Y, like we knew, color, which we already had, tolerance, which we already had, and these are two new ones, object width and object height. So it's going to look for this color with a tolerance of 5, and let's see here, hold on. It's going to look for this color with a tolerance of 5. For CTS, just leave that as, you can leave it as 1. You can try using 2. Don't worry about what that means right now, but 1 or 2 here would be fine. And this is the important part, width and height. So it's going to look for this color with this tolerance, and since the color has a tolerance, it's gonna result in like multiple brownish shades of color. And this width and height means it's gonna search for like a rectangle, a solid rectangle of this color with this tolerance. So that means a width of 15 and height of 60 would mean like a box, like 15 by 60, kind of like a skinny long rectangle. And the reason I made it skinny and long is because obviously skinny and long would only result in trees that are all the way up, and once you chop them down, you can't go as high up and downwards. So this will be a little bit more accurate than what we had earlier, because I remember we were having problems clicking trees that were already chopped down, or clicking wrong things. And min count, sorry. This last is min count, which means how many, so it's going to search in a 15 by 60 rectangle, and min count means how much of that color do you want found. Earlier I said a solid 15 by 60 rectangle. No, it's going to make like a bunch of 15 by 60 rectangles all over the screen, and if in any one of those rectangles there's at least 20 pixels of that brown color found, then that will result in true, and I'll search there. So I think even increasing that 20 to a higher number will be very helpful. So 15 times 60. Ideally, if that whole rectangle was our brown color, we get 900 pixels. But I doubt we're always going to find a perfect 15 by 60 rectangle of color. We can even try like 450. It's like if half that rectangle was our brownish color, then we'll consider that to be a tree. Let's see how this even works. I haven't tested. One last thing. Find objects and a lot of spiral, like if you use like find color spiral, a lot of the find things, so remember how I said these two first parameters are the result of where the object is found. And if before the search, if you define those parameters as being the main screen CX, main screen CY, this means the center X and center Y coordinates on the main screen, which is about right here. Basically very close to your player. Wherever your player is, it'll result the closest. Scratch that. Basically, these are the coordinates of the center of the main screen, about right here. So if I define these parameters as main screen center X and main screen center Y, and then call a search function, it will start searching outwards from the center, meaning it'll find the closest tree or closest color or whatever to me. If I don't have these, if these weren't to be here like we had earlier, it starts searching from 1, 1, which is up here, which isn't ideal because then it'd keep trying to chop trees diagonally far away. And if you remember in the first video when I was running it, it kept finding trees pretty close to the top right. And you always want to chop or mine or fish or find the thing that's closest to you. So by having these here, this tells the find object to, hey, start searching from the middle, then go outwards. And once you find that, change these from main screen CX, main screen CY to actually where the color is found. So let's see if this even compiles and see how it runs now. Also, I was noticing the anti-ban was running pretty often earlier while chopping, so I'm going to increase this wait here to maybe a second, so the anti-ban will happen a lot less. So let's see how this works. It should search from the middle outwards, and it should be a little bit more accurate on trying to not click stumps and things like that. I might need to update the color though. We'll see how this works. Alright, color seems to still work. but let's see here. Maybe not. Maybe I need to update this color or add some more tolerance to it. Yeah, let's add some more tolerance to this. Let me change this 5 to like a 20. There we go. Working a little bit better. It was hovering the ground for a while, so I'm assuming the color I picked was a greenish color. That's not what I want. I want a stump color. Because remember, we're searching for a 15 by 60 box. Obviously, if I choose a greenish color, it's going to result in a lot of the ground. We want stumps. Huh. Weird. I'm gonna even increase how many pixels are found. Send that to like 600, so we can be really sure it's a tree. Yeah, it's still pretty not too accurate, but like I said, in my later tutorials, I will be using things way more accurate than just find object and way more custom, so it'll find exactly what you need and not random things. But I want to get this as right as I can for you guys, so you could actually use this in RuneScape as a script for yourself. And I'm trying really hard. I'm feeling like I should have made this for rocks or something, but you guys can experiment, change the size of this box, change how many pixels you want to be found, things like that. Just mess around with these parameters as much as you can to try to get it pretty accurate. There we go. That seems to work better, whatever I just did. Now it's only finding trees. That's awesome. There you go. As you can see, what I did was I reduced the tolerance a bit. So it's only finding the tree stump colors. It's searching in a 15 by 60 box and making sure at least 600 pixels in that box are that brownish color. So that's pretty much only going to result in full upright tree stumps. Tree stumps and not the already chopped down stumps. Let me get a little closer to these. This is working a lot better. This is almost perfect. There we go. So as you can see, it's no longer hovering the ground or hovering chopped down stumps, things like that. And a lot of scripting is just trial and error, adjusting your parameters, figuring out what's best, things like that. And this is working pretty nice. I'm liking it a lot. There's some anti-ban happening. A little bit more. Awesome, this is great. And one more thing I did was I uncommented the repeat until false. So that's why it's chopping multiple trees and not just one and then stopping. So I'm actually really glad that we got this chopping procedure working a lot better. Another thing I'm going to do is reduce this weight here, because I'm level 83 and with a rune hatchet I can chop these trees down a lot faster than 7 seconds. And another thing I want to do is add a flag right here. What flag does is, as you can see, whenever you click somewhere on the minimap or click on a tree, a little flag appears. And what flag does is basically it waits until that flag is gone before doing anything else, because you don't want to be like on your way to the tree and then I mean, all I do is go on my way to the tree and then do anti-ban and things like that. But if I had steps in between, I would want to wait before doing anything different. So I'm going to put a flag. So all flag does is basically, after clicking, it's going to wait before it does anything else until this flag disappears. And it's just nice to have that after every step of walking or clicking on something, because you want to wait till you're at your destination before doing the next steps. So our chopping procedure looks pretty good. Now after chopping you need to drop, so we'll make a procedure for dropping. Procedure, drop logs. And as you guys already know, I'm a big fan of DTM, so we are going to drop the log via DTMs. So define some variables first. X, Y, no, we're using sexy. C and log DTM integer. First things first, you want to open up your, assuming you already saw my DTM tutorial. I'm not going to explain this too much, I'm just going to make a log DTM real quick. You know, click the main point in the center of the log, subpoints on the outside of the log. Make sure they're on the outline and all have the same color. And I want this to work for all logs, so tolerance of 255, and that will do it. Print DTM. So there is our log DTM, easy as that. Love DTM, so fast and easy to make. So first things first, we're going to define our DTM. It's going to be called log DTM. So load our DTM. And I'm going to open up my power miner real quick because I really like the dropping procedure I have in there. So I'm going to loosely base, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to loosely base our dropping procedure on the dropping procedure I've used in my power miner. So let me just stare at this code for a second here. Okay, that's kind of what I need. I'll explain this code to you in just a second. I'm just making sure everything compiles, defining my variables and stuff. I'll explain what everything is to you in just a minute. Okay, so let me explain my code a little bit. So normally, when doing a find DTM, I'm assuming you'll start searching from the top right. We're only going to be focusing on the inventory. So that means it drop in like a weird way. It keep finding the closest log to the top right of the inventory. And when most people drop, they drop in some type of a pattern. Normally something like each row at a time, something like this. You know, finish dropping this row. When they finish that, usually they either move here or move up here, drop that row, etc., etc. So in order to make the script work just like that, instead of just continually searching for the log closest to the top right, which isn't very human looking or normal or efficient, what I've done here is I created a t integer array. All you need to know is that it's an array of integers, which means just a bunch of integers, and you need brackets around it. And what these numbers are, they correspond to inventory slots. I'll read it out to you and hover over the slot. This would be 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, 21, 25. And after here, it'd go back up there to 2, 6, 10, etc., etc. So it would drop down each row, just like that. And what I'm going to have the script do is, instead of searching from the top right or searching the entire inventory and just randomly dropping logs, I'm going to have a T box, which basically is normally when we search we have something like from my previous tutorial, when we do find DTM, we put here mix1, miy1, mix2, miy2, which would be a box around the inventory. mix1, miy1 would be right here. mix2, miy2 would be right here. Basically, what this does is it creates a box for us, and the box is inbox is a procedure, a function in SRL. I'll have you guys look at it, which basically makes a T box around a certain slot, around any slot you wish. So So I called this I because we're going to keep changing the slot after we drop each log. So what I'm going to introduce here is a for loop, and what that does is it starts, instead of repeating until false or repeating until something is found, a for loop repeats a certain amount of times. So we're going to start it for I equals 0 up to 27. So this will repeat something 28 times, from 0 to 27. And each time it's going to increase I. So what I'm having it do here is I'm going to have it create a box named slot box, and that box will be a box around inventory slot, which means inbox, and inventory slot number will be each number in my log pattern. So log pattern I, for the first run, log pattern I would be 0, and log pattern 0 corresponds to number 1. After this completes one time, I would increase, and this would be log pattern 2. Log pattern 2 would be the second number in this t integer array, which would be 5. And then after that completes, I would increase again to 3. Log pattern 3 would be the third number in this t integer array, which would be 9. So as you can see, after each repetition, it'd be going through this string of numbers here, and therefore going down each of these rows. 1 second, doorbell. Alright, and we're back. So let's complete this loop. Basically what happens, like I said, is each time this loop repeats, a box is created around an inventory slot, and then our find DTM is going to look for this log DTM, and wherever it's found, it's going to be called XY, and these are the parameters of the box. Slotbox X1, slotbox Y1, slotbox X2, slotbox Y2 would be, up here would be X1, Y1, down here would be X2, Y2, for the specific inventory box we chose by I. So what it'll do is it'll find that DTM, move the mouse to that item, and let me just show you what mouse item looks like. It's pretty much exactly what it says. Mouse item, just like mouse, will move your mouse somewhere, but it moves it to a specific inventory slot, and either left or right clicks based on if you say true or false. So it saves some of the work for us, the randomness and things like that. So if it finds a log DTM, we'll go to that inventory slot and right click it, by false, and then we will choose option DRO for drop. So basically I'll right click, click that drop, and pretty sure that's all you need to do to drop an item. Let me just fix my standards a little bit. Should be it. If I'm thinking clearly. See if this compiles. Oh. Huh. Alright, seems to compile. So let's let the script, in fact, chop more logs for us. And as you can see here, it's going to continually chop, and we need to let it know that when the inventory is full, then we want to drop. So we'll have if inv full is obviously when your inventory is full. That's built into SRL. So if your inventory is full, then drop logs. So that's a basic loop we have going down here. Continually chop. It'll do anti-ban within that chopping, and then when it realizes the inventory is full, it will drop our logs and then go right back to chopping. So let's see how this works out for us. Yes, it's finding the trees a lot better now. It's pretty fast too, I like that. Oh, right when I said it, it slows down. Wonder why. Oh, messed it up, shouldn't have changed the compass angle. I'll leave it alone. I think what's happening is it's thinking it's finding a tree, but it's not. And then it's waiting the 5 seconds that we put in this timer right here. Which seems to be longer than 5 seconds. So anyways, let's actually use one of our things, one of our procedures we made, stats guys, so we know exactly what the heck the script's doing. So if it finds the tree, it'll say, hooray, we found one. Great. Let's see. Over here we'll put a stats guys, anti-ban, and waiting. And over here we'll put one for dropping logs. So we'll know exactly where the script's hanging up. Or we might know. So let's run this again. Or it could be possible that it's just not even finding a tree at all, and it's being a little confused. So maybe let's have a little bit of a lower angle so I could see trees better. I think that's what the problem was. Might need to adjust the colors or tolerances again. As you can see now though, unlike before, it's actually right-clicking the trees sometimes, due to that random case we put in up here. Because before I only had case random 1, so it was only regular clicking. Now it's actually right clicking. And as for the compass moving around, that's me doing that myself manually, because that's not built into the script yet. And as you can see in the oh, let's watch the dropping. It's working. First try. That's awesome. I'll explain what I believe is going on with that bottom dropping right there. That's not good. I think that's a little problem with choose option. Alright, so it dropped pretty well. What's happening down here, my guess, is that normally when you right click, here's your different options to choose. And normally drop logs is not highlighted, so it looks like this. And I think what's happening is choose option is having a little trouble reading the text, because when you right click the logs down here, at least when the script was, it was right clicking like that. Drop logs is already highlighted, so I'm thinking that's kind of screwing with the script and it's not able to actually read that it says drop because it's highlighted. And it shouldn't normally work like that. It's not normal, so I'm going to report that as a bug later on. But it should be able to read this whether it's highlighted or not. But as you can see, this worked. And if you want some cooler debug down here, it actually says what log you're dropping. We'll go inside of our for loop and write dropping log, and we can even have the script tell us which log it's dropping, which inventory slot. So I'm going to put int to str, which means integer to string, because stats guys only lets you write a string, and I. So what this will do, it'll say dropping logs, and then whatever I is, and I will be which slot it's trying to drop right now. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Pick these up again. And I want you guys to, if you would look down here or look at the tab down here, you'll see it, that it's gonna update as it drops each log. Just give it a second. I had the tree chopping before the actual dropping procedure, so it's gonna finish doing that until it realizes the inventory is full. Taking a while though, it seems to be stuck in this loop. Ah, I have found a problem. As you can see here, like I said, mark time is like a stopwatch. It starts the timer, and I have this repeating until either I get more logs or the stopwatch is over 5 seconds. But the problem is I have the mark time inside of this repeat, which means it keeps resetting the stopwatch over and over again, which is bad because we just want to start the stopwatch once we've clicked the tree and let that thing run. So it was getting stuck in this loop because I kept resetting the stopwatch over and over, so this would never happen. It'd never be 5 seconds since the stopwatch has been running, since it kept getting reset. So I moved this mark time outside of that loop, so now it'll actually work better, work properly. So go ahead and look at the tab down there, or look at the little status, and as you can see, it's saying what log number it's dropping. Not the inventory slot, but the how many logs it's actually dropped. And it's only going to go to 27 because the first log counts as log 0. But that's a little cool thing to have in your script. It actually dropped one of the bottom ones that time. That's good. And now it's back to chopping, which is great. So we'll add a couple more little things and that'll be the end of this. One thing you always want to do is search for randoms, and luckily it's very easy to do since it's all built into SRL. There's just one function you need to call called find normal randoms, and that will take care of all your random finding. I'm going to call that once after you click on a tree, and why not once before you click on a tree? So after you click on the tree and everything in between you click on the next one, it'll be constantly searching for randoms, and it'll even do it once before clicking the tree and then after dropping each item. It's good to just pepper in find normal randoms anywhere you can think of, because you don't want to miss a random. That'll totally screw up your script. So anywhere you can think of a random coming up, you want to have that there. And another good failsafe to have is we'll use another mark time called, call it too long. I'll call it here, mark time too long. And in a couple places I'll put if time from mark too long is greater than, we'll say 30 seconds, then begin. And we'll use this failsafe thing, which changes the player location to whatever reason we put, logs you out, commits any stats, and kills the script. Where were we up here? Then failsafe, and we'll put could not find tree. And we'll have another one of these inside this loop right here. So basically what this will do is it'll check if it ever takes longer than 30 seconds to cut a tree, and if it ever does take more than 30 seconds to cut that tree, then the script will assume you're either lost, there's no more trees available, or you're stuck in a random in case the find normal randoms didn't work properly. If anything goes wrong, it should never take 30 seconds to find another tree. So this will log you out. 1 minute here. What have I done? There we go. So if it ever takes 30 seconds to find a tree, it'll log you out, set the player location to could not find tree, so you'll know exactly what went wrong. You can even have the script right. So the script will stop, log you out, write what went wrong. So we'll write could not find tree, and terminate the script. So that's always good to have some kind of a failsafe like this that waits for a while, and if it takes too long, it will log you out safely. And we want to throw one into before we drop the logs too, because how to explain? Just throw one there because it might mark the time up here, and then start dropping your logs, and then assume it's been 30 seconds since you chopped a tree. But the reason it's been 30 seconds or more than 30 seconds is because you were busy dropping logs. So by marking it before and after you chop the logs, it just keeps resetting that stopwatch back to 0. So it won't assume it's been 30 seconds and like something went completely wrong. It'll know that you were dropping your logs. Let's check if that compiles. No, because I defined because I'm using the variable too long in multiple procedures. I'm using it in my chopping procedure and my dropping procedure. I'll need to define it all the way somewhere like above the script, anywhere that's not basically that's not in a procedure itself. So I'll do it up here. Variable too long integer. So basically, by having it up here and not in a single procedure or function, it will work in multiple procedures and functions. So that compiled, and as far as I can think so far, this tutorial is completed. But if I think of any more things to add, little tweaks to make, I'll definitely make a part 3 to this tutorial. But now I'm just gonna run the script for a couple of loads. Feel free to watch it, or go ahead and just make your own. And remember, you can modify this however you want. Make one for fishing, make one for mining, any other skills you can think of that work like this. And what a lot of you can do is make the script exactly how I did. And as you learn more advanced procedures and functions, or think of a better way to do it than I have, what you can do is swap out what I've written for your own code and make it work better and faster, or add more features yourself, or anything like that. Because, like I said, this script is very basic, but as you can see, we've got it running pretty well. We've got it finding the trees properly and not just hovering the mouse around too often. And we've got it dropping the logs. We've included fail-safes, finding randoms, dropping, pretty much all the basic stuff you need. Maybe you'll want some more compass moving around, things like that. But as you can see, it seems to work pretty well, and by you tweaking it or adding your own functions and making it work better, it'll be even more stable than how it is right now. So in my later tutorials, I'll be teaching you more advanced techniques and more reliable, better techniques to do these types of things, as long as other little special things like custom procedures and functions that are a little bit more advanced and don't just use SRL's built-in things, adding stats to your script, adding progress reports, things like that, little extras that aren't 100% necessary but great things to have in your script. So I'm just going to let this finish another load and drop the logs, and that will conclude this tutorial. As for the walking around and moving the compass around, that's actually me doing that right now. You might want to add that yourself, because as you can see, I'm chopping these trees pretty fast. So in the script, you can use the function called makeCompass. You can look that up yourself, and what that does is that will allow you to rotate the compass around the way I am. And you also want to add set angle false, I believe, which will set your compass to the very lowest angle, how mine is right now, because then you could see the tree stumps a lot better. So set angle false and some make compasses will allow your script to make your compass very low and move around like this to better see stumps and logs. And I will be reporting that bug about the dropping not working properly, so the dropping function will actually work, or just choose option in general will actually work when it's supposed to. I'll help it out a little bit. There we go. And here goes the dropping. Sometimes the bottom logs are getting dropped because when right clicking, the use option is selected and not the drop one, so it's actually working right. But whenever the drop option is highlighted, it seems to not be able to read the text properly. And there you have it, our script's working. The little statuses on the tab on the bottom and on the script itself are working, and they're saying hooray, we got a tree, saying when it's doing anti-ban, saying when it's dropping logs, things like that. And let's check if our failsafe works. Let me run away from these trees, see if that little 30-second failsafe seems to work properly. Hopefully it does. So I'm going to stand here where no trees are visible. See if about 30 seconds passes, and it should log me out, assuming my player wandered off or no more trees were found or it was stuck in a random if anything went wrong. And it should also write the reason why it logged me out. Seems to actually not be working, which kinda sucks. Anyways, guys, sorry to end on a crappy note like that, something not working properly, but I'll definitely get back to you, add an annotation to this video or something later on once I figure out why that didn't work properly, and let you guys know exactly what the heck went wrong. But there you have it. You have a little skeleton slash outline for your very first script that chops and drops, which can also mine or fish. All you really need to do is edit your colors here, change the uptext here to maybe mine or fish or whatever the uptext is for those, and change this DTM for ores or logs or whatever you wish. And feel free to browse the forums, maybe even look now at the intermediate tutorials or advanced tutorials, and even definitely look at other people's scripts to get inspiration from them on how they go about doing things, and start implementing and tweaking things in here to make the script your own, make it more complex, make it longer, make it better, harder, better, faster, stronger, all that good stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know these two tutorials were a little long and sloppy and a little crazy and out of place, and we had a lot of problems, but hey, that's scripting, and I'm glad I did it this way rather than just having an already made script and explain it line by line, and actually typed it out and made it with you guys. Because these are all problems that real scripters have and have to deal with, and it takes time, it takes patience, it takes using SRL forums, making a help thread, and getting other people's views and opinions on things. So it's a long, messy process, but the more you do it, the better you get, the easier it'll get, and the more complex scripts you can make. So I'm glad you guys stuck through and watched this whole thing, and I hope you guys have fun making your very first script. I'll be making a thread for this later where you guys can post suggestions or any help you need or any ideas you had, things like that, and I'll help you out with this script and further explaining anything that you didn't understand during this video, because I knew it was a bit sloppy. So if you need help at all understanding any portion of this script, go ahead and just post on that thread. I'll leave a link in the description box. And have fun and enjoy running your very first script. Congratulations.